Dive after Justin Trudeau on September 18th alleged that Indian agents were involved in the killing of separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, but India has firmly rejected these allegations and continues to demand a proof.
He also said that they will proceed with the investigation to find out the truth. So in diplomacy, you should not take all the words seriously. The statement is good in the sense that India and Canada should de-escalate and bring down the temperature. If it doesn't de-escalate, people, they have already started to suffer and they will suffer more.
देखिए, कनाडा के डिफेंस मिनिस्टर जो कह रहे हैं बिल्कुल ठीक बात कह रहे हैं, सैनिटी की बात कह रहे हैं, कॉमन सेंस की बात कह रहे हैं कि भारत और कनाडा के रिश्ते गिरने नहीं चाहिए। भारत दोनों देशों के रिश्तों में सुधार आना चाहिए। कनाडा और भारत के रिश्तों में वो बिल्कुल अहम और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात कह रहे हैं। इनफैक्ट मैं तो ये कहूँगा कनाडा को खुद ये ध्यान देना चाहिए, जो उनका मिनिस्टर कह रहा है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ट्रूडो को भी इस बात पे ज़्यादा ध्यान देना चाहिए कि भारत के साथ रिश्तों को और ना गिराएं और कुछ कदम लें जिससे कि कनाडा और इंडिया के रिश्ते बेटर हों, मधुर हों।
Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has raised the level of tension between India and Canada to an unacceptable level, and Justin Trudeau has made them in public. It is good of the Defence Minister of Canada to point out to his own Prime Minister that relations with India go beyond the issue of terrorism, which is important, and other issues, other difficulties and differences that we have. Canada should review its policy of allowing foreign terrorists and separatists to use Canada as a base and carry out activities prejudicial to the interests of countries that the Defence Minister of Canada regards as a friend of Canada, having shared strategic interests.
Now, CNN News 18's managing editor Zaka Jacob spoke to former foreign policy advisor to Justin Trudeau, Omer Aziz, on the diplomatic ties with Canada. Listen into that conversation.
You had recently written a piece for the Globe and Mail where you basically said on this Khalistan question, India and Canada were not talking to each other; they were rather talking past each other. From your experience as a foreign policy advisor to Mr. Trudeau, could you explain to us, maybe give us an anecdote or two, why you felt that particularly on this issue, the Khalistan issue, both sides were talking past each other?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I served in government in 2017 as a foreign policy advisor. It was a very critical time because Donald Trump had just come into office. Prime Minister Modi had now been in office for 3 years. Prime Minister Trudeau had been in office for 2 years. It was a very critical time of global affairs where a number of the issues that we're seeing today, especially between India and Canada, could have been resolved or put on a better course. You know, this is what the purpose of diplomacy is. It is to keep talking. It is to seek out mutual interests and where we can work together. And then where there are challenges, we address those together domestically with our allies. And if we're invested in a bilateral relationship with the country, then we take their issues at least into consideration. An example that might show how they were talking past each other, it was just very difficult for the two foreign ministers to meet in that year in 2017. I remember it was quite difficult. So from where I sat, I had to advocate for the agenda and the issue and for the attention, time, space that, policymakers and principals should have applied to this. But what was worrying was that even where there were attempts when the Indian government did want to talk or the Indian foreign minister did want to talk, I often felt that we either didn't want to listen or we didn't have time to listen. And so that's a function of a lack of priorities, because I saw India as a rising power and that they were bringing this issue to our concern. And so it was worth addressing very seriously. Where we've gotten to now is a near rupture in relations. This is what happens when you don't have investment or interest in a countries' bilateral relationship where it's superficial. And what I'm hoping for is what I'm hoping for then, which is that diplomacy can prevail and not just, hard politics and tough talk.
Now, India has been saying, and even before Mr. Trudeau came out with these allegations, India has been saying that Hardeep Nijjar was a Khalistani, he was a separatist, he was a terrorist, he was wanted for a number of crimes here in India. There was an Interpol red corner notice against him, and Canada seemingly did not do much to try and bring him to justice for all of these crimes. The question then is, why would the government of Canada, and the Prime Minister in particular, by going public, why would they go to such great lengths to eulogize such a person, even to the extent of harming and hurting the diplomatic relationship?
Yeah, I mean, if the reporting is accurate, he was also a Canadian citizen, right? And hadn't been convicted of any terrorism laws that I'm aware of here in Canada. And so if the allegation was true, and we have no reason to doubt that it is, just given that now the reporting suggests that there were human intelligence, signals intelligence, and that the US may have provided the key intelligence to implicate agents of the Indian government, Indian security services in particular. So, I mean, the intelligence is there, and he's a sitting prime minister of a democratically elected prime minister of Canada. Could he have given someone else to announce this? Could this have been discussed privately, perhaps at the G20 and elsewhere? Sure. But I think the political calculation that was made, and perhaps the national security calculation as well, was that the prime minister has to get ahead of this and address this. Also, it was already being leaked that this has occurred and this issue is behind the scenes. And, with democracies, it's very difficult to keep information just close and away from the people often. So it was going to get out anyways. And I think Prime Minister wanted to be ahead of it and wanted to address it head on because it raises some very, very serious implications and consequences. I can't speak to Mr. Nijjar himself. I mean, there's been conflicting accounts of his background. I just want to say that, number one, to the extent that someone's just expressing themselves and it's just free speech, that is entirely protected and guaranteed within Canada's constitution. And no prime minister would dare challenge that essential principle. It's just part of the culture. But where things get dangerous, or where they could potentially get into tricky territory, is if there's any kind of fundraising, or if that speech turns into donations, and those donations are going towards what another country may consider illicit or illegal activity.
Now, CNN News 18's Shivani Gupta spoke to Salvador Babones on India-Canada face-off over Justin Trudeau's allegations on the Indian government agents. Listen into that as well.
Why do you think, particularly in a country like Canada, the Khalistani secessionist movement gets so much political protection, and even a fringe element has so much political power, as we've seen?
This is an artifact of the way single-issue politics work in Anglophone democracies. We have a situation where one group within society, and even then, a fraction of that group have a single issue on which they care deeply. So they're part of the governing coalition of, well, broadly speaking, Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party, but also of the New Democratic Party, which is a smaller social democratic party that is in government with the Liberals in a coalition government. And they have a lot of influence with the New Democratic Party. Now, the Khalistani elements within the New Democratic Party have only one issue they care about, and that's Khalistan. The people, the other groups in their broader electoral coalition, which includes gay rights activists, which includes Muslims, Muslim Canadians, which includes diehard trade unionist socialists, those groups have their own issues, like Israel, or issues around working conditions that really have nothing to do with Khalistan. So when the party takes a position on India or Khalistan, the Khalistanis have an absolute control over the party's position. But of course, in return, they simply support what the other members of the coalition want on their own pet issues. And that form of single-issue politics exists not only in Canada, but in the United States and Australia. It's something we see replicated across the Anglosphere.
Well, staying with the same story, we have a major piece of breaking news coming in as far as the standoff between India and Canada is concerned. They have absolutely nothing to say about what exactly is happening on their soil, but they are all out advocating India on their personal matters. Now, members of Canadian Sikh group gathered outside the Indian diplomatic mission in Toronto on Monday and chanted pro-Khalistani slogans. There were about 100 protesters in Toronto who burnt down an Indian flag and struck a cardboard cutout of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with a shoe. About 200 protesters were also gathered outside the Vancouver consulate in Ottawa. Fewer than 100 people gathered in front of the Indian High Commissioner's office in the capital. They waved a yellow flag marked with the word Khalistan on it. This comes a week after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau raised the prospect of New Delhi's involvement in murder of a Sikh separatist, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, in Canada. As I said before, absolutely nothing, no vocal representation about what exactly is happening on their soil, what's brewing in their own country, but a lot to say about how and what India should actually be doing. I have CNN News 18's Abhishek Jha joining me on the phone line. Abhishek, a very good morning to you. Could you give us more details about this representation that happened yesterday? How violent was it? What is the Canadian government doing about this?
So what we know ever since this Nijjar killings and Indian agency's role was announced by Justin Trudeau government, since then there had been this threat of, Khalistani groups protesting in front of Indian missions in Canada, and 25th of September is the date that they had announced that they would go ahead and do some protests in front of Indian high commissions and Indian missions in Canada. And last night we saw some of these protests happening, but the protesters, though they were very aggressive, but they did not resort to any violence right now. And also there were numbers which is not very significant. There were like handful of people who were having those yellow Khalistani flags. They were trying to wave and they were chanting anti-India slogans. And so clearly the kind of support they wanted to have around their cause and the kind of crowd they wanted to gather to showcase their strength and support in Canadian soil is something that was largely missing in these protests, two protests. And as you also mentioned, there were like a few dozens of people who were in front of the mission of India in Canada who were trying to protest and, express their opinion regarding Khalistan. The police persons were present to stop any untoward incidents because of the high tension that is running into the bilateral relationship between India and Canada, so they were quite alert. But the larger part is that huge support that these Khalistani elements were claiming that they have in Canada, and there is a widespread anger, apparently, that these Khalistani groups were claiming, that was hugely missing in these protests, and we saw a very small number of people gathering there and chanting all anti-Indian slogans and pro-Khalistani slogans.
Well, definitely. Abhishek, I have a lot to discuss with you on this same. I'll request you to please hold on because we have a major development coming in on the same line. Now, this is CNN News 18's mega exclusive. Sikhs are now upset with the K groups operating in Canada. Indian Sikhs are extremely unhappy with their activities. Intel sources have revealed to CNN News 18 that Sikh groups are actually feeling that they are losing their respect and love from across the world due to the radical approach that is currently being played in Canada. Sikh group says that Khalistans have absolutely no association with Guru Granth Sahib in any way and never have seen them reciting any single word from Guru Granth Sahib as well. They also feel that the rise of an extremist fringe ideology, the pro-Khalistan, is creating negative impact of Sikhs sitting in other countries as well. Abhishek, I want to know the word coming in from the Sikh communities here in India. Why are they upset? What exactly are they demanding from the Canadian government and their members of the Sikh community living in Canada?
Well, you see, Khalistani terrorists or Khalistani overall protest has largely been dead, and it has been kept alive by some foreign nations for their vested interest in some part of Europe and Canada. And the latest, spree of events around Khalistani movement that we saw has been a part of larger, diplomatic game on behest of certain foreign nationals, especially on the ISI and some people living in Canada who have been propagating this Khalistani cause. Now the thing is, the Sikh community has largely been labeled as the Khalistani, and this is where the Sikh community is feeling upset about, because very few, a handful, a fringe group of Sikhs are interested in Khalistan, but largely Sikh population are interested in having their own life, making it better and living a normal, peaceful and harmonious life in that society that they are living in Canada or in other parts of Europe, be it UK, US or Australia. So these Khalistani groups, these elements, these violent groups, they are trying to tarnish the image of Sikhs in these countries, and this is what Sikh community has largely been upset, because it does impact them, it does impact their business, because few dozen people who protest, who does violent march, who does violent protest, the entire community gets labeled, and this is where they will have their issues, they will have themselves being considered that all Sikhs are part of this Khalistani group movement, and this is where their anger and their resentment is, that the entire community is not supporting it. We have seen earlier also major Sikh leaders coming in support of India and not supporting the Khalistani movement. They have decried and they have condemned those activists, their violent agenda. But despite the fact that largely the community is not in favor of these groups or these movements, there are certain number of violent people or gangsters, one can say, or criminal mindset people who are trying to propagate their agenda, and in a way, making the entire community is getting embarrassed by their activities.
Definitely. So no takers for the K extremism here in India. Abhishek, thank you so much for bringing in all those crucial details. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates. Right now, we are shifting focus down south to a very different story. This is the political drama being played in Tamil Nadu, because in a huge setback for the BJP in the southern state of Tamil Nadu, the AIADMK has snapped all ties with the BJP. The AIADMK unanimously passed a resolution in a meeting yesterday and officially announced the end of its alliance with the BJP and NDA. In a statement, the party slammed the Tamil Nadu BJP President K. Annamalai for criticizing Dravidian stalwart C.N. Annadurai. The party's General Secretary Edapadi K. Palaniswamy said that they would lead an alliance with like-minded parties in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. Now, according to BJP sources, the AIADMK wanted Annamalai to be removed as the BJP state president, but the BJP High Command say a big no to that request.
Been expected for a long period of time. For Alliance Dharma, the sanctity of the alliance, we maintained our status quo. Despite Annamalai turning out to be a rabble-rouser, he started commenting about our leaders, our founders. He started criticizing our ideologies. He even criticized our rally, which saw about more than 15 lakh people turning out, and it's a historic event. And multiple number of times we had even raised a resolution condemning his act and sent it to the High Command of BJP. It is BJP who needs AIADMK. It's not AIADMK needs BJP as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned.
अन्नामलई जी का लीडरशिप में अच्छा स्ट्रेंथनिंग करने का काम, पार्टी मजबूत करने का काम हर जगह में हो रहा है. समय है, आज ही हम उसके बारे में निर्णय कर नहीं सकता है ना. आप सोचिए, अपना वरिष्ठ लोग हैं, वो लोग मैनेज करेंगे.
Besides all these things, our 2 crore members' opinion, based on that opinion, we are taking this resolution now. That's what we are facing. This is the very happiest moment to AIADMK and our party. We are very happy to face these elections, upcoming elections, whether it might be parliament or assembly elections. We go to win massive success.
Well, it's time to slip into a very short commercial break. Stay with CNN News 18 for more such stories and developments right on the other side.
That Parivartan Yatra which happened in Rajasthan, that was not led by one person. There were 4 yatras which was led by 4 different leaders.
Arun, thank you for those details. We'll continue to check back in with my colleague. As you can see, the Prime Minister in Jaipur. It's time for a short break. On the other side, in just a few minutes, more of the country's top stories. This is the Breaking News Show. The Prime Minister, as you can see on the visuals in front of us, in Jaipur. A little while earlier, we brought you visuals of the Prime Minister in a rally in Madhya Pradesh. Both Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan are due for elections. You'll remember this year, in just a few months from now. In Rajasthan, remember, the Prime Minister is there right now to address audiences. He'll be addressing crowds in just a little while from now. But in Rajasthan, his visit is of particular importance because remember, the BJP in Rajasthan has seen some disquiet within its state unit with various polls of leadership. Former Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje choosing not to attend rallies in multiple areas, seen as a seeming sign of her dissatisfaction with decisions being made by the central BJP leadership. So that disquiet very much remains. Remember, the Rajasthan state is currently ruled by the Congress government. Ashok Gehlot, the Chief Minister, is going to be launching that campaign against the BJP in just a few months from now. The Congress too in Rajasthan has seen its own fair share of infighting. Obviously, you must be familiar with this. Former Deputy Chief Minister Sachin Pilot's infighting with the Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. So, two separate parties, both the BJP and the Congress in Rajasthan, with their own state party unit complications playing out. In Rajasthan itself, over the last few months, the BJP has carried out multiple yatras. We've also seen Home Minister Amit Shah and the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh address these yatras over the last few days itself. In one such yatra, we saw the Home Minister refer to the Sanatan Dharm controversy that was playing out down south. Remember, this is the controversy where a DMK leader made statements about the Sanatan Dharm. That was looked at as particularly interesting by experts, as an indication almost of what the BJP poll plan could look like in just a few months from now. Now, my colleague Arun with us to bring us more context. Arun, you joined us earlier in the day when the Prime Minister was giving speeches in Madhya Pradesh. Now he's obviously in Jaipur, two election-bound states. Can you bring our audiences more context about what lies in store here in Jaipur?
Well, see, Prime Minister Modi has a very jam-packed schedule today. Firstly, he started his day with a rally in Madhya Pradesh. Then he has reached Rajasthan, and after concluding his program in Rajasthan, remember, he'll be reaching to Delhi and then participate in another program of Deen Dayal Upadhyay, the statue. So now, as we speak, Prime Minister Modi is in Jaipur, and remember that today is the culmination day of the Bharatiya Janata Party's Parivartan Yatra in Rajasthan.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Well, our next story is about the ongoing water war between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, because after the Supreme Court decided to not intervene in the Cauvery water sharing dispute, pro-Kannada outfits, Farmer Association and various organizations have intensified their protest against the Karnataka government's decision of releasing water into Tamil Nadu by calling for a Bengaluru Bandh. Now, the Bengaluru Urban Deputy Commissioner has declared a holiday for all schools and colleges in the state. The ongoing controversy stems from the drought conditions in the state triggered by the recent Supreme Court ruling upholding the Cauvery Water Management Authority's directive to release 5,000 cusecs of water to downstream Tamil Nadu until September 27th. Meanwhile, the Cauvery Water Regulation Committee, which is CWRC, will meet today regarding this particular issue, this particular dispute.
I have written a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister, and the Jal Shakti Department should file a review petition of 5 experts to be sent and study the standing crop situation and the water situation in every dam where the upper riparian people were suffering, the lower riparian. The issue was raised in the Rajya Sabha, and at that time also I made an appeal. I hope, sincerely trust, the Prime Minister will certainly take action.
No, it will not. Kuruvai is already done. It's all gone dry, and the life is lost of Kuruvai. You cannot start that cultivation. Whatever cultivation took place on June, believing water will come, it's all gone. Crops are all dead, and farmers are removing the crops using their tractors. We have seen that, and making a statement that we believe Karnataka will. This believing and all will not work. There is law. We have fought the law. AIADMK fought, stalled the parliament for 22 days. Won the case in Supreme Court, ensured that the Cauvery Water Tribunal is there and enough powers have been given to them. And so much of hard work has gone into it, giving the due diligence and right to the people of Tamil Nadu and to the farmers. And DMK playing to the gallery of Congress in Karnataka, that too particularly to DK Shivakumar. For his vote bank politics, he is ensuring that he has been playing the vote bank politics very cleverly under this Cauvery issue, wherein MK Stalin is remaining as a mute spectator and a dumb person who doesn't know what's happening for the state.
Well, our last story is of a very different kind. Vibrant Gujarat has today come to known as the most premier business summit in India. This global summit, however, had humble beginnings in 2003. This progress and growth has been witnessed in the state was something unimaginable back in 2001 due to the earthquake that had adversely affected the economy of the state. Honorable Prime Minister of India, the then Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, has today evolved as one of the most reputed global forums for business networking, knowledge sharing and strategic partnerships for inclusive growth and sustainable development. The 10th Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit is now being held in January 2024 after a gap of 4 years. This 10th edition of Vibrant Gujarat will celebrate 20 years of Vibrant Gujarat as the summit of its success.